Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Can you hear
Yes,
me?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes,
Good.
sir. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I will just share my screen. 1 minute.
Yes, sir. Yes.
1 minute. Okay.
I think we have to make you as the co-host, sir. Just a minute, sir. I'll ask them to make. Mohan,
I can actually share.
if you can share, fine, sir.
Yeah,
Who's the host now, Mohan Sundari?
I'm checking.
Yes.
Ma'am, I'm the host.
Yes, sir.
Can you see my
To
screen?
whom
Yes, sir.
I'm
The screen is visible.
Super.
Mohan Sundari, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Whom
You
I
give the
have-
host. Mohan Sundari. Mohan Sundari.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I changed.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Super. So I am ready anytime you say Juke.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll start.
No problem. Take your
Sir,
time.
HOD, sir.
Yes. Hello.
Sir is Dr. Satyaprasad, sir. Sir, Dr. S. Kesavan is our HOD, sir. HOD MBA.
Sir. Good evening, sir.
Namaskaram.
We have all our colleagues also, sir.
Very nice.
Sir, it is exactly 5:59. We will just wait for 1 minute and we'll start, sir.
No problem. You can take your own time. Tomorrow
Yes,
is
sir.
Sunday. I have no problem.
Thank you, sir.
So,
We are so
really-
happy that you gave your acceptance and you're with us today, sir.
Well, madam, certainly for you and your husband, certainly this is the least I can do.
No, sir, not at all. You are doing the best for us, sir.
No problem. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
My screen is visible, right? No problem.
Yes, sir. Your screen, innovation, the way forward.
Yes.
Ashok Leland is
I
there.
will roughly try to take no more than 1 hour. Usually,
Yes, sir.
I am very precise. If I
Sure,
say
sir.
12 minutes, it will be 12 minutes exactly.
Okay, sir.
So,
Okay.
this will take 1 hour.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Mohan Sundari, can we just disable the waiting room so that you don't have the trouble of letting them inside?
Yes, ma'am. Sure, sure.
I will just take it off so that they will
Yes,
come.
ma'am.
Now, there are 2 people who are waiting. Just let them in. Akshaya and Nallappan. And then we will disable so that they can join. Already. Sir, we have executives from various organizations. We have actually restricted to 30, but we have around 50 plus, so we didn't want to stop. So all executives from various organizations, some of our students are also there.
Very good.
Jayashri ma'am, hello ma'am. She said, and at the end,
evening,
will you
ma'am.
be, good evening ma'am, good evening. Prasad sir, at the end, will you be taking some 2 or 3 questions, sir, if possible?
I can take as many questions. I have no problem. I
Okay.
love answering questions. Maybe they can type in the chat box or they
Yes,
can
sir,
ask
yes, sir.
me.
Yeah.
Everything is
I'll ask them
fine.
to do it. Sure, sir. Prasida ma'am, shall we start, ma'am? Are you there, ma'am? Prasida ma'am? I saw her entering. Is she there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. Let's go ahead, ma'am.
Yes. Sir, she's Dr. Prasida, sir, one of our professors.
So, namaste, sir.
We'll start then. I think somebody's audio is some problem with the audio. Can you just mute? Mohan Sundari, is it clear? Can I start?
Yes,
Some
ma'am. We can
disturbance.
start, ma'am.
Okay.
Start off.
Okay. Yes. A very good evening and a warm welcome to the session 1 of Acharya, the MDP series. Acharya, as the name specifies, refers to a teacher and an influential mentor. Today, we have with us one of the greatest Acharya, Dr. Satyaprasad Mangalaramanan, Vice President, Product Development, Ashok Leyland Limited. He is a person who likes to probe into deep thoughts of life, the idealist personality who is equally creative and detail-oriented, a perfectionist and extremely skilled at work. He is known for his expertise to grasp the knowledge of any subject in detail. We are indeed fortunate to have Sir amongst us today. Innovation is the unrelenting drive to break the status quo and develop a new where few have dared to go. We could find none other than Satyaprasad sir to talk about innovation. He will throw light on the topic innovation, the way forward. Pray, then let it go. Don't try and manipulate or force the outcome. Just trust God to open the right doors at the right time. With these words, I request Dr. S. Kesavan, Head, Department of Management Studies, SRM IST, Vadapalani, to welcome the virtual gathering. Over to you, Jody, sir.
My humble request is if you spend more time introducing me, I have less time talking. So you can make the introduction
Yes,
very
we'll make
brief.
it precise, sir. We'll make it precise. But it is difficult for us to make it precise. As a 10-page profile, we found it, Mohan Sundri found it very difficult to concise it. Over to HOD, sir.
Good evening to all. This is Dr. Kesavan, Professor and Head of the Department of Management Studies, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Vadapalani campus. On behalf of the SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Vadapalani campus, and the Department of Management Studies, I extend a warm welcome you to one and all present for this MDP on innovation, the way forward. On behalf of the institution and on my own behalf, I extend a cordial welcome to our guest speaker, Dr. Satyaprasad Ji, Vice President, Product Development, Ashok Leyland Limited. Welcome you, sir. I also extend a warm welcome to the participants from various parts of the Tamil Nadu and our own alumni who is working in various institutions as executives and faculty members from various colleges and my dear colleagues. Again, I extend a warm welcome to one and all present here for this MDP. The title of the MDP is Innovation. Innovation is inevitable nowadays in the technology-driven industry. Without innovation, it is very difficult for any industry to survive and succeed in this cutthroat competitive world. That is why the opt title has been chosen and also the opt personality has been selected to deliver a lecture on the topic, that is innovation, the way forward. With regard to this innovation is concerned, why we have chosen this topic? Due to the pandemic COVID-19, there is innovation, there is disruption in each and every area, not only in the field of service sector and also in all fields, especially in the field of education. The total disruption and technology leads a role, and the classes become virtual and learning become through online, both teaching and learning, and everything is technology driven. Similarly, in industry also, as far as the industry, especially the auto industry is concerned, the pandemic started little earlier before the COVID. So all of you may be knowing about the recession took place in the auto industry. And also a couple of months back, you could have heard about the news about the Ashok Leyland Limited. The people like Satyaprasad Ji took a lead role and helped the organization to lead in the right path and revived from the recession, and now it is going in the upward direction. So he is the opt person who is going to tell us and also to take us to a greater heights by his experience, and also he is going to enthrall the audience as how to become very innovative and to succeed in this competitive world through this innovation and creativity. So keeping in mind all these things, we have organized this MDP mainly for the benefit of the alumni and executives and people who are working in various organizations, and also for getting some conceptual knowledge for the participants. So once again, I extend a warm welcome you to 100% here for this MDP on innovation, the way forward. This is the series of MDPs we are going to conduct for this semester. This is the first series. The next series will start by the end of this month and also followed by another third one in the September month. So the participants, whenever you are free, you can come forward to participate in all the MDPs conducted by our Department of Management Studies, SRM IST Vadapalani campus, and you can enrich your knowledge. Once again, and thank you one and all for showing interest in participating in our MDP. I also thank Dr. Satyaprasad Ji for having readily accept our invitation to deliver a talk on innovation, the way forward. Again, I would like to thank the technical support team and also especially Dr. Arun Nehru for helping us to telecast this even through YouTube also. So I thank Dr. Arun Nehru, faculty of CSE, from our own institution. Once again, I thank the organizers and our faculty members for having come forward to organize such events during this pandemic period in order to help the executives and our own alumni to learn a lot and to enrich their knowledge. Once again, I welcome you one and all for this MDP. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, for the information, we have even participants from Oman for this MDP. And Mohan Sundari, can you share the YouTube link in the chat so that they can even watch some of them, if possible? And Shibu, you can share the YouTube link in the WhatsApp group also, Shibu. Yes.
Ma'am, I have shared it in YouTube, ma'am.
Okay.
WhatsApp, ma'am. But here I couldn't share, ma'am, because you are the host, ma'am. I mean, Mohan Sundari, ma'am, is the host, ma'am.
I'll ask her to make you.
Okay, ma'am, I'll do.
That's Satyaprasad, sir. We just have a small video. Can you just stop sharing the screen so that we can play the video, sir?
Absolutely, I've done that. Stop.
We have just a very short video about SRM and also about our resource person. Yes. So SRM IST Vadapalani. We have 4 departments, and in the Department of Management Studies, we are presenting to you Acharya, the MDP series, the session 1. This is our campus, where we offer BTech Mechanical Engineering, BTech Electronics and Communication Engineering, BTech Computer Science, and Master of Business Administration. This is our inner view, and these are our labs, our professors, the ECE lab, Computer Science lab, our library. This is for the benefit of the audience because you are not with us physically, so we want to show the campus. This is our MBA classroom, one of our professors handling classes. These are our MBA students. Our computer lab and faculty from the Department of Management Studies. And we are presenting today the first session 1 of Acharya, Innovation, the Way Forward by Dr. Satyaprasad Mangalaramanan, Vice President, Product Development, Ashok Leyland Limited, Chennai. Ms. Mohan Sundari will shortly introduce sir in detail. Thank you so much.
Very shortly. Okay.
Yes, sir. This is V. Mohan Sundari, Faculty, Department of Management Studies. I request you to kindly introduce the resource person very shortly, which is going to be a very difficult task for you.
Yeah, of course, ma'am, very tough. So it was a 6-page profile, which I have tried to reduce it to almost 1 page. Okay. So please, good evening all. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Satyaprasad Mangalaramanan, an energetic, focused and charismatic resource person for today's session. Sir has pursued BE Mechanical at College of Engineering in Gindi, Chennai, where he secured university 3rd rank, after which he did his MS Industrial Systems Engineering at University of Regina, Canada, and carried out his PhD in Mechanical Engineering from Memorial University, Canada. Coming to his professional experience, he has held various positions in Ashok Leyland and also other top companies, India, USA, and Canada. So here, if we see about the step ladder at Ashok Leyland, Sir started his role as Deputy General Manager, Advanced Engineering and Product Development, after which he had his upward movement General Manager, and presently he is the Vice President Product Development of Ashok Leyland Limited. Prior to Ashok Leyland, he was associated with many companies like Dana Corporation USA, where he worked as a CAE specialist and design engineer at Babcock and Wilcox, Canada, and marketing engineer at Larsen and Toubro Limited, India. Coming to his academic affiliations, Sir was Senate member in the Indian Institute of Information Technology, IIT D&M, Kanchipuram, and he is also member of various bodies like Board of Studies, Anna University, Doctor Committee member, Anna University, Executive Committee member, Center for Technology Development and Transfer, Anna University, and also a member in syllabus committee at Anna University. Sir has guided many doctoral theses. He also has held different teaching positions in Western Michigan University, USA, and Memorial University of Canada. Sir has received many national, international, and institutional honors and awards. Sir has also secured patent. So he has almost 8 Indian and 2 US patents that was granted with his name. Sir has also published 16 journal publications and also presented his paper at 31 conferences. So Sir has also provided many invited lectures at many places, which was exclusively referring to engineering and non-engineering, and also invited as chief guest at various technical congregations. So here we have today among us, which is actually a very precious time for us, and let us get the benefit out of Sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mohan Sundari. We welcome all the participants to get the maximum benefit out of this 1 hour. Yes, sir, you can please share the screen, sir. Participants, you can reserve your questions. At the end, you can ask. Either you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can post it in the chat box. Yes, sir. Over to sir. Thank you, sir.
You can all hear me well?
Yes, sir.
You can see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Super. Then I'm good to go.
Yes,
the time in my little clock here is exactly 6:15 actually.
Okay.
So I would take not a second more than 1 hour, which I will take you through a small journey. So this is not something that is available in the textbook. This is my own little understanding of what innovation is, how we should understand. And if we want to be innovative, what are the few things that we should do? So I'm just seeing if my, great, okay. So very recently, just a few months ago, Donald Trump warned a company in China called Huawei. He said, we are not going to give you Android operating system. Many of us thought, including myself, that this Huawei, which is this huge Chinese company that makes a lot of tablets, mobile phones, laptops, etc., heavily depends on Android operating system from Google. Now, suddenly if you tell Huawei that I will not give Android, what would they do with the devices? If you take Microsoft Windows, or if you take Linux, or if you take Android, it has given an ecosystem for many companies to build their products. And suddenly if you say that I will not give you the operating system, it is a reason strong enough and sufficient enough to wreck the company. So I was eagerly wondering what is going to happen. But Huawei did not buckle. Huawei said, if you don't give us the operating system, we will fight back. So Huawei was already having its own operating system, and it had something equivalent to Play Store. So it surprised me because Huawei clearly demonstrated that while it uses Android, its business model is not entirely dependent on Android. And if Americans do not give Android to China, what is Chinese company like Huawei going to do? Well, it's going to whip up Chinese nationalism. And there are almost 1.5 billion Chinese, and even if 1/3 buy Huawei products out of sheer nationalism, that's a big business for Huawei. Made me think actually, if you have the technology, you can exercise control. In my own personal opinion, the warning of Donald Trump on Huawei did not bear the success that Trump expected. This made me think back a few decades ago. The nuclear reactors of India are derivatives of CANDU reactors from Canada, Canadian deuterium reactor. And when India detonated the first nuclear bomb in 1974 at Pokhran, Canada stopped nuclear dealings immediately with India. But India did not buckle. And touch wood, today we have a very good nuclear program in the country, both for defense as well as civilian purposes. Again, this is an example that if you are fully dependent on somebody to help you with the technology, they can literally hold you by the throat. And unless we have enough thought leadership, courage, grit, determination, the temerity and the knowledge, it will be very difficult. But luckily, India was able to comfortably manage what Canadians refused to offer. A little more recently, couple of decades ago, Russia was almost about to give cryogenic rocket engines for India. These rocket engines are a fairly sophisticated piece of device. On one hand, you have liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen at probably minus 100, minus 150 degrees centigrade, very low temperatures. And on the other side of the engine, you have these extremely hot gases that propels the rocket forward. So cryogenic rocket engine is a technology in its own right. Russia was about to give, but Americans and a few other people said, don't give technology to India. So Russia pulled out. This was a big disappointment for India, but today, India is probably one of the less than half a dozen countries in the world with cryogenic rocket engine technology. Again, clearly says that unless we are technologically self-reliant, we will be at the mercy of some other company. Let me come to a much more mundane, simple example. Many of you know this iPhone. Having an iPhone is a prestige. I'll give you some data which is very interesting. There is a company called Foxconn in China that makes iPhone. This is slightly dated data, but still it gives the message. The cost of manufacturing an iPhone, you're talking about electricity charges, wages, you're talking about bill of materials, everything if you include, it used to cost Foxconn $178 to make an iPhone. And it would be sold at $185 to Apple. So per iPhone, Foxconn made mere $7. And Apple would take the same iPhone and sell it to you and me for a margin of $368, 50 times more than 50 times. So while the sweat has an equity of $7, the brain has an equity of $368. The thinker wins. So China quickly understood. And if you look at probably 20 years ago, somebody asks you, what mobile phone do you have? People will proudly say that, I have a Nokia or a Sony Ericsson or a Motorola. 15 years ago, they would have said, a Hewlett-Packard, a BlackBerry. Maybe probably 10 years ago, maybe a Nexus. Where are those names today? Nowhere to be seen, decimated. Why? Today, if you want value for money, you go for Xiaomi Mi, Lenovo, Xiaomi, Oppo, OnePlus, all these companies, Chinese companies. So from a Foxconn model of sweating out to make an iPhone, China has moved aggressively towards thought leadership to give the other companies a run for its money. So we come to a question. What has innovation got to do with it? What's the difference between invention and innovation? The very simple definition for both are as follows. If you spend money to create something new, that is invention. Example, your Large Hadron Collider chasing the elusive God particle. But if what you have made makes money for you, that is innovation. For example, the Apple products. Apple did not create anything new. The Gorilla Glass was existing, display technology was there, all your audio drivers, everything was there. But Apple distinguished itself in user experience. That's innovation. How do you bundle what is available to make money for you. But innovation is not easy. There are lots of innovations that have actually failed. Take, for example, HP phone, about which I spoke a moment ago. Failure. Pebble smartwatch with e-ink display, beautiful, failed. Electric vehicle of General Motors, operated for 3 years, failed. BlackBerry, very successful once upon a time, failed. Palm Pilot, extremely successful till early 2000, failed. Windows Phone, probably 6-7 years ago, came with a bang. Windows had a premium product, a 950 and a 650, which is an Aam Aadmi product. Absolute failure. Microsoft Zune, wonderful product, failed. In early 2000, a maverick inventor called Dean Kamen gave some vague statement that he has a product that even Steve Jobs has invested in. He codenamed it as Ginger. They said that the control system is superior to modern aircrafts, and the software puts Microsoft to shame. And when it came out, it was Segway that you see here. Let me see if I have a pointer option. Yes, I have a pointer here, Segway. So before this product came, people said villages would be built around it, cities would be built around it. Failure. So not all innovations are failure. Google Glass is another great example. People spend a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars, hoping that what they have created would see the market. So it's still elusive. And in an Indian context, we are going to think what we got to do. There is a need actually also to ensure that there is some concurrency in different branches of engineering. For example, what we fail to understand is the rate of change of technology is much faster in electronics and computers than mechanical engineering. Probably 40 years ago, if you take a car, it would have been a mechanical engineer's task to design a car. Today, it's not so. There is too much of electronics, a lot of computers, ECUs. So engineering itself is becoming multidisciplinary. So innovation is becoming quite complex. For example, in an aircraft, there are miles and miles of cables, not like the ones that the Wright brothers came up with. An average car has 60% electronic component. These little statistics would certainly marvel you. An average luxury automobile, a car, has 100 million lines of code, whereas an F-22 Raptor jet, a fighter jet, has only 1.7 million lines of code. So lots of computations are happening every single second the vehicle operates. So it's no longer just a mechanical engineering or an electrical engineering or whatever engineering. There's too much of intelligence that's being built. So the first message I want to give you is that when we look at innovation as we go forward, it's not being expert in a single silo. It is actually a practical understanding of the interdisciplinary nature of engineering. So what should we do? I'm going to take you back on a small journey into history. I am invoking the Greek god Janus, who has two heads. One head on the right of you looks at the future, and the other head to your left looks at the past. Let us look at India's past. As recently as almost 150 years ago or 200 years ago, India was one of the richest nations in the world. India's GDP was among the highest in the world. This came from a very reputed source called Angus Madison from University of Groningen. So this is not a data that anybody cooked up. It's available all over. And now the time starts here from AD 1. And certainly if you go back in history to BC, before the Common Era, you wouldn't see any different picture. So for thousands of years, India was a very wealthy nation. Something happened. If you look at our Rig Veda, that's the oldest written document, stretching back to more than 12,000 years. We created the first university at Taxila. In BC 26, a small king called Purushottam defeated Alexander. And believe me, even if Purushottam had lost, there was a mighty Magadhan empire ready to crush Alexander under the feet of elephants. But unfortunately, Indians are very bad in documenting history. And of course, the Western history says Alexander won, and they call him Alexander the Great. Let's forgive historians for that. The Anakat built by Karikala still stands. In AD 500, we had Nalanda University. Then something really, really bad happened. We suffered for almost 950 years of brutal invasion and colonization. The broad-minded nature and culture of Sanatana Dharma and India completely got destroyed. And we were tainted with a lot of foreign contaminations. And by 1947, when we got independence, we took a path of democratic socialism. And as we speak, we are into a democratic capitalistic setup. As we go towards globalization, there is a need for us to understand that we cannot once again afford to be colonized. This time it is not geopolitical colonization. It could potentially become economic colonization. So what should we do if we have to retain our traditions and culture as we move forward in engineering and technology? If you look at post-independence till 1991, it was a socialistic setup. So pretty much there was not much growth and we were very stagnant. It was called as the license Raj. From 1990 to 2000, you had the IT, the economy was opened up and we had this IT culture. I remember the days in newspaper, IT grooms wanted, preferably with H1 visa, applying for a green card. From 2000 onwards, the core industries also started paying enough money in India. But in 2008, something really bad happened. The connected economy had widespread repercussion and ramification. Some mistakes happened in the United States. Many companies went bankrupt. You had the Lehman Brothers crisis and all that. And today, as we speak, we are still in a gray area because even as early as 2019-20, our economy tanked. And come March 2020 this year, we had all the COVID problem and we are still relearning what we have to do. Therefore, let's look at the opportunity we have when it comes to innovation. As I said, during the very sad period of innovation and colonization, there was mass looting by the invaders as well as by the colonizers. British used to take raw material from us and dump finished goods. After our independence in the socialistic era, we started large turnkey projects such as BHEL, ONGC, Integral Coach Factory, etc. Post-liberalization, we started to understand that we can do IT-enabled engineering services and business process outsourcing. So when we look at headroom that is available for us, we have three distinct opportunities. First is high-level engineering and consultancy. The next one is innovation to generate patents that generate revenues and to come up with disruptive products and technology. So we have an opportunity to elevate ourselves by high-level engineering consultancy. We have an opportunity to innovate. We have an opportunity to disrupt. Very nice. How are we going to do this? How are we going to be innovative? Let's understand that when you look at the GDP of India, more than 50%, again, this is a little dated data, but it's no different today. More than 50% comes from engineering services, which is somebody is paying us money and we would do services. We would write a code, we would write a Visual Basic front end, we will create a web page, whatever it is. But as you know, a service-driven economy is not innovative. Why? Somebody is paying you money and asking you to deliver the goods, and you have to deliver according to what your client has asked. So there is an intellectual claustrophobia when it comes to engineering services. You would have deadlines, you're not allowed to think, you're not paid to think, you're actually paid to do. Therefore, we end up seeing articles like Bangalore, is it Silicon Valley or Cooley Valley, right? Innovation is very sadly missing in our GDP. Technology is missing in our GDP. But if we have to go up the value chain, we should be thought leaders. We should be good in technology. How should we do that? We have to understand that the business process outsourcing and the service model imposed upon us by this capitalistic economy is not very wise. It doesn't sustain on the long run unless there is thought leadership. Why? If outsourcing is extremely intelligent, we have to understand that lots and lots of American companies filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. So, if retaining thought leadership in the West and outsourcing sweat, like what Apple did to Foxconn, is the best thing, then all the American companies should be doing extremely well. Why did many go bankrupt? It shows that innovation is holistic and we simply cannot take some part of the job and outsource it to Mexico and China and India and say that these are dirty jobs. So today, if you look at an innovative country like United States, they are telling we want to do manufacturing in-house. What did they say 10 years ago? What did they say 20 years ago? We don't want to do manufacturing. Let the Chinese do it. Today, what are they telling? Oh, we want to have automation. We want to do manufacturing. So the first lesson we have to learn in innovation is it has to be long-term and it should not be short-term, money-minded, market-driven, capitalistic, myopic, narrow-minded view. But great minds like Jeffrey Immelt and Ergen Schrimp have understood it. They have constantly been imploring that what makes an organization great or what makes a nation great is a passion for innovation. But yet, innovation is much more complex today than before. And there is an opportunity here. If you look at the world, if you look at great academic institutes, they have Center for Excellences. If you look at Clemson or Ohio State or University of Michigan at Ann Arbor, they have Automotive Research Center. Likewise, the Fraunhofer Institute does a lot of applied research. Therefore, there is a need. First, we have to elevate ourselves. That's what I have put here. There is a need to elevate ourselves with where the world stands by going beyond what we are doing in the nation today and establishing centers of excellence. Now, what do these centers bring? What is innovation? What does innovation bring? The ecosystem. What you look at the top right is the mechanism in your watch, in a wristwatch. Can you believe the number of components? Can you believe how complicated it is? Or this Large Hadron Collider, or Toyota Prius hybrid engine, or the space shuttle which has now been retired, the Apple products that we spoke a while ago, or even a simple Mont Blanc pen. Today in India, we don't even have a good fountain pen to call as our own. If you want good pens, well, the cheap ones come from China, but the good ones come from Europe or Japan or United States. But we are still talking about turmeric and basmati rice and neem leaves and all that. So there is a need really to elevate ourselves so that we could innovate. Why? Because if you look at the number of patents that have been filed, for the size of the country, India is very, very at the bottom. If you look at how our neighboring countries are faring, Korea and China are doing extremely well. Look at South Korea. They are a very small country. China very aggressively pursuing patent filing. So if we want to elevate ourselves and innovate, we have to focus on generating intellectual property. We need a lot of researchers. If you again look at the annual growth rate of number of researchers, even small countries like Taiwan and Singapore are focusing a lot on research. India is nowhere to be seen. Again, R&D expenditure, China, Malaysia, Singapore, they're doing extremely better than India. Therefore, we many times end up reading sob story like, intellectual property index, India remains at the bottom. Global innovation index, India's rank is somewhere in the 66, like that. Think about this is one among the few countries that can launch a rocket, one among the few countries with nuclear technology. Where are we on innovation? Right at the bottom. So, what we should do? Well, the first thing we should understand is we have to come out of our comfort zone. If you look at several years ago, when power used to go off, in those days we used to have a lot of power cut. Most of us in our 50s know this hurricane lantern. In fact, some of us will still be having. It's a kerosene lantern, and it can withstand gush of air. And then of course, this was the only bulb that we used to use. Maybe one or two tube lights we would have. Today you are talking about LED lamps. If you look at what is common between all these technologies, each one gives light. That is all. That is where the commonality ends. The technologies are completely different. The candle has got nothing to do with a hurricane lantern. It has got nothing to do with an incandescent lamp, nothing to do with a tube light, nothing to do with the sodium vapor, mercury vapor, LED and CFL. These are different. Likewise, take for example, these companies called as Fuji and Kodak. When the digital technology came in, these companies refused to get into the digital bandwagon. Why? Because the early digital camera in 2000 and 2001 were very grainy. It was probably some 360 pixel by 240 pixel. Whereas if you develop a film, your photograph quality would be extremely good. So people said, why am I going to waste money on a digital camera when I can get such good quality print from film? No, Kodak and Fuji said, our film business is doing very well. We are not going to go into digital fray. What happened to them? They lost very badly. And today, if you look at the camera industry, that's being disrupted by a mobile phone. Just think about it. 15 years ago, nobody thought you would be walking with a camera and a video camera and a scanner and a voice recorder and an MP3 player and a Wi-Fi gadget, everything in the pocket. Oh, by the way, this also makes phone calls. It can also hold a SIM card. So this is disruption where one technology eats and makes the other technology defunct. There is another thing called as reverse innovation. What is reverse innovation? Let me give an example. Many years ago, General Electric felt there is a market opportunity in India for electrocardiograms, ECG. ECG is very expensive in India, and GE came up with this wonderful low-cost device for $500, which could produce fantastic ECG for the heart. Oh, this is good in India because India is a poor country. But suddenly GE felt, hey, you know what? 90% of Indians are poor and 10% are middle class and upper middle class and rich. But if you go to Western Europe or United States, it flips around. 10% of the people are poor. So this product can actually help the 10% of the poor people in Western Europe and United States. Therefore, they suddenly realized that a product that has been built and designed for a country like India also has a market in advanced countries such as Western Europe and United States. This is called as reverse innovation. There is something called as open innovation, where you crowdsource innovation. You open a portal and you say, look, this is the problem, and we welcome any ideas. And we will give a raffle, and and randomly some 10 people would be selected. Each would be given 2 lakh each. You will get flood of ideas, and you can do back-end processing, and you can see which one can actually disrupt the market. What is another way to disrupt? How are we going to disrupt? We have to facilitate skunk-works. What is meant by skunk-works? When I was a little school-going kid, I used to always maintain a small lab with electromagnets and lenses and copper sulfate and battery eliminators for DC supply, all that. All constant experimentation. Of course, in those days, money was very scarce. But with whatever I could make do, I used to do small robots, small toys and other things. But today, with all your Amazon and everything, with your Arduino board and with your Raspberry Pi, with all stepper motors in those days were rare. Today it's a commodity. We have to facilitate skunk-works, especially at homes and at universities. People should be allowed to tinker. Great many inventions and innovations came only because of tinkering. I've given a few examples. What you see on the top left is a scooter by a company called Lit Motors. This is a gyroscopically balanced two-wheeler that can take a moderate sideward impact without toppling. Then look at the kind of balance. This was not done by some great bunch of engineers. Some fairly ordinary but committed people did it. What you see on the bottom right actually is a wind tunnel created by Wright brothers. And these Wright brothers were only bicycle mechanics. What this clearly says is there is a hidden genie that is inventive in many people. It's just waiting for an opportunity. In India, we call it jugaad actually, but we can go more than jugaad if we give an ecosystem. This is junkyard wars. So, unless we facilitate skunk-works so that people can try out small things without fear of failure, it will become very difficult to disrupt. And we also have to understand that when we look at innovation today, the situation is quite complex. In those days, for example, when Ford started their car plant, they also had a steel plant nearby to supply steel for the car industry. Today, it's not like that. There is changing paradigm also. For example, let me go back to the previous slide. In those days, I said, right, Ford had a Rouge steel plant near the Rouge River to supply steel to make cars. Today, it's not like that. You import sheet metal from China, then you press it in Taiwan, you paint it in Bangladesh, and you assemble it in Mexico. So it's a very connected environment. Also, the thought process of people change. It's not the same. In the 1970s, if you go to an American and talk about a small compact car, they will laugh. For an American, a car should be very big. It should be able to take a family of 5 or 6 people, tug a boat, tug a tent and camping equipment. But today, if you see, there is a huge market for compact cars in the United States. And in fact, surprisingly, Americans in the General Motors had a joint project with Segway to make this urban, individual mobility transporter. Maybe 1 or 2 people can sit here. I don't know. Maybe 1 person. So people are trying to constantly reinvent. The mindset of the American in 1970 is not the mindset today, 50 years later. Likewise, if you look at Mercedes-Benz, not many people know that. They also make bicycles. So people constantly keep reinventing in order to disrupt. Also, the ecosystem today is very complex. For example, great companies like General Motors and Chrysler, they all file for bankruptcy. Tier 1 companies, very reputed ones, file for bankruptcy. Why? Because internally, what you see on the left, they have fantastic department. They have good computers, good manufacturing line, everything. But what you see on the right is a 900-pound gorilla. You become helpless if the fuel prices go up. If the government policies change, it becomes a big problem. Global economy, we are all connected. Political stability, if a war erupts, there's a problem. Today, look at what COVID is doing to us. Disruptive innovation, I might be extremely good in making a tube light, but the moment LED lamp comes, my market for tube light is gone. I might be extremely good in making camera films, but the moment a digital camera comes, my market is gone. And today, cell phone is disrupting your camera business. So another big mega trend is happening in the world. Today, lithium is the new oil because battery technology is rapidly improving right from your mobile phone to automobiles to everything. You have lithium ion batteries. So this is another major change when it comes to how innovation is done, because now the one who holds lithium holds the key, just like Arabia used to do. Therefore, the mega trends emerging in future, which warrants innovation, or artificial intelligence, big data, IoT, automation, massive computing, quantum computing, augmented reality, like virtual reality, tactile feedback, additive manufacturing is another area, 3D printing, connectedness. We have all this 5G, 6G, everything coming, connectivity, smart cities. So things are going to change, and unless we are aware of these changes that are going to come, we will be taken by surprise. But luckily, the opportunity we have is we can have a first mover advantage in many of these technologies. Therefore, what should we do if we want to innovate? We have to understand the technology is interdependent, it is symbiotic. For example, academia creates brain power in the country, which is the root of the system. The government labs, they understand nation strategic interest. The government regulations protect the country from vested interests. And then you have industries that take the technology to common people to sustain the economy, to build the economy. So you have intellectual property generation, technology disruption, you can do high-level consultancy. If we come together, because coming together, everybody has a need and everybody has something to offer. I'm not going to read this slide, but the message I want to convey is there is a more than important need for Indian organizations and academia to do pre-competitive research. Understand, this is the most important thing, to be pre-competitive. Because we have been operating from the vantage of our strength and opportunities. There are weaknesses and threats about which we are also going to look at shortly, which pose a danger light for innovation. But coming together helps, because if you look at a university, they are interested in publication, funding, students, they want to push the frontiers. Government labs want to do cutting edge research, want to stay in critical programs. Regulatory bodies take care of the interests of the nation, and industries work towards bringing the technology to the common person. So the interests of coming together is very complementary. And one message I want to give here is that if we want to be innovative, if India should be innovative, we need to know the method and technique of coming together. For example, forget people, even softwares are coming together. In those days, you used to have a separate CAD software, separate finite element software, separate PLM software. Today, everything is coming together. There's a lot of mergers and acquisitions. Everybody wants to offer end-to-end solution. So the market space is shrinking in terms of number of players, but widening in terms of number of offerings each player is giving. But when we do that, I want to caution you that we should understand that our interaction with the globalized economy should not kill our heritage, culture, and value system. We all know this high school story or primary school story called as the Arab and the Camel. So this Arab is staying in a tent. It was a cold night. The camel said, "Master, I'm feeling very cold. Can I thrust my head and then my neck, then my body?" And the tent rips off. And the poor Arab had to stay for the whole night in the chilling, desert wind. This story is important because this camel is what is called as globalization, an open economy, a free market. We were used to only idli vada 30 years ago. Today, our children are asking for pizzas and burgers. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but I'm also telling that unless we protect our idli vada, we would end up becoming a burger eating society. The rider, this guy, is like old civilization. And the tent that protects us is our priceless heritage, tradition, legacy, and culture. Now, you might ask, why are you bringing this suddenly? We have been talking about innovation. We have been talking about disruption. We have been talking about reverse innovation. We have been talking about, crowdsourcing of ideas, all those nice things we have been talking about. We have been talking about tinkering. Why did you bring in? The reason is, if we do not have a control on globalization and free market, we might end up picking the wrong parts of technology. For instance, today we have motorcycles or cars that go very fast. We don't have good roads. We don't have working lights. We don't have proper traffic police people. We don't have protective systems. So wrong things we are learning. Whereas, we need to learn a lot of good things from various countries. Look at this, for example. In 2011, there was a tsunami, and a particular place in Japan became a wreck. 1 year later, look at the same place. The ability to bounce back. So many things we can learn. We are not learning all the right things. Today, what is happening is, till 91, till the economy opened, we were socialistic in different countries. India was not even spoken about in the global arena. Then the economy opened up in 1991, and India started seeing disposable income starting from the IT industry. This analogically represented as a little tortoise in a fish tank. So somebody put the tortoise in a fish tank, and the tortoise thought, okay, I used to live in a big pond. Now I am living in a small pond. The water is still cold. Then the burner of globalization was lit. There's a burner. So the water started becoming warm. That is 1991 to present. So warm water is very comforting. And the little tortoise was very happy. It said, oh, this warm water is very soothing for my body. What the tortoise did not realize is pretty soon the water is going to boil. And if this does not know how to handle boiling water, it is going to get cooked. So today, the globalization and free market is like this burner. Today, the BPO industries are surviving. Today, the service industries are surviving. Tomorrow, those who are giving us contracts, who are writing us these checks, might find a Thailand cheaper, might find a Vietnam cheaper, might find a Philippines or a Kenya or an Algeria cheaper. They would simply remove the shop and move there. Therefore, we have to understand how to survive even when the water boils. And in order to do that, you cannot go for a service-oriented mindset. We have to be innovative. Why? We can say till 1991 to today, touch wood, we have been okay. We have been getting decent salaries. We have a small car. We have a two-bedroom apartment. I would like to give an example of what is called as black swan. That is an unplanned event happening. Best illustrated by an example. There was a turkey, not the country turkey, a bird turkey, that was very thankful for its master because he was feeding it, taking it to the vet, protecting it. And he thought, oh God, this man is a very good person. He's a very kind, helpful person. But it went through a sudden revision in belief before Thanksgiving Day because he was doing all that so that the turkey fattens up, and before Thanksgiving, he can actually cook it and eat it. So we cannot say that my past 10 years or 15 years or 20 years have been good. Therefore, my future is also going to be good. Then we will suffer what the turkey has suffered. Therefore, we have to understand that when India became, when the markets of India were opened up, Westerners thought, let us use Indians for sweat. Let them be laborers. Let them do Y2K problem. Let them make Visual Basic front ends. We will not use them for technology. Then they suddenly realized, hey, Indians are not that bad. So they started up opening technology center like Microsoft Research Center, John F. Welsh Research Center, all these, multinational research center. Today they are telling, hey, we will come into retail and FDI, open your wallet, spend money. Therefore, when we were here in the green zone, we were very less connected with the external world. Then the blue made us even more connected. Today we are a lot more connected. But the point we have to ask here is, how much control do we have on globalization? How much control do we have on free market? What should we do? That's the big question. Because innovation is a backbone of having control on the free market. I am not competent to tell what we have to do in this scenario, but I take the help of Professor Padma Shri Shoji Shiba, who used to teach in Massachusetts Institute of Technology, #1 institute in the world. I had an opportunity to spend 3 days with him. I took notes. I made a chart out of his teachings. And I showed it to him and I said, have I captured your lessons well? He patted me and he said, yes, you can use it for any of your lecture. And he gave me one chart where he has captured his own lessons in a different manner and he gifted me with a t-shirt also. So I'm going to present this to you. If we have to become innovative, we have to bring a cultural change in us. What are the cultural change? We have to avoid a few things. Indians love to talk. We keep on talking. We have to avoid that. Indians, I have spent 13 years out of the country, and I have never seen people more selfish than Indians. Very sad. Always me first. What is in it for me? I am great. I want promotion. I want money. But if things don't work well, passing the buck. Oh, I did everything I could, sir, but still this happened. I am not at fault. Another thing is a few things, in every meeting, observing and taking notes, documenting to create history. Next, if you have to understand fish, you can either theorize, use your logic and talk about the fish, or you can actually jump into the fish bowl, swim with the fish, and understand fish. So Professor Shiba says, don't be pedantic. Go get your hands and feet dirty. Get the experience actually. And we have to unlearn a few things. Like a turkey, we cannot gloat on the past glory. So we have to unlearn certain things if we want to do certain new things. So unlearning is a big process of innovation. We have to get a big picture. Why are we doing what we are doing? How much we are connected to the big picture? A holistic thinking, so that we understand the ecosystem in which you are functioning. We should not say that, look, this is my target, this is my goal. I'm not telling you should not focus. Focusing is very important, but you should also know where you are exactly positioned in the jigsaw puzzle. We should use scientific problem solving. In the sense, we should do brainstorming, but you should also validate what you have thought with experience. Next is skill development. From knowledge to understanding to skill to behavior, we have a long journey to go. Mere knowledge alone, in Tamil we call it as Etu Surakai. It's of no use. But if we share the knowledge, we get understanding. If we keep repeating what we have learned, Thirulluvar had said, right? Karka kasadara karpavai katrapin nirka adarku taga. He says we can develop skill only by repetition. In Sanskrit, they call as abhyasa. And when we practice the skills, it becomes a behavior so that we can disrupt. Okay, this is the 3 eyes of Buddha of Shiva. The first is doing what you're doing well, which is your culture, value systems, heritage, everything. Incremental improvement, like your quality systems, manufacturing systems, etc. But the true glory lies in disruption, which leads to innovation. I gave examples of a digital camera. I gave examples of LED bulb. Few examples we saw. Next, do and demonstrate. Right? Instead of instructing and check, which seems to be more habitual for Indians, we actually have to do and demonstrate. And also we have to apply what we have learned so that success snowballs into something even bigger. So these are 9 valuable behaviors we need if we have to take step forward towards innovation. Because one of the most important thing is not to lose the big picture, because we all start with a dream and somewhere we give up the dream. But we have to understand that in order to make dream into action, there are lots of steps available. And even if you execute very well, your dream won't be exactly realized. You might realize something else, because that's the travel from ideal to real. But what you have thought may not exactly happen, but still something worthwhile will happen, or something, still it will be greater. Take, for example, Joseph Lister. He came up with antiseptic. I think Simpson came up with the chloroform. Goodyear, a fantastic example, came up with vulcanization of rubber. They started with some dream and they achieved something that is phenomenal. Therefore, we have to understand that India as a nation to be innovative should go up the value chain. See, globalization is like this typical posh neighborhood in Chennai. It would have beautiful flats and high-rise buildings like. So all the laundry people and the cleaning people, everybody would come from the slum. Slum people will always say that, oh, these rich guys, they don't get along with each other. They don't have they don't smile. They are very, they don't have a sense of humor. And these guys say, oh, the slum dwellers, they are noisy, they are cacophonous, they are dirty. So they coexist, but they necessarily don't get along. It's like two sides of a peacock. When the peacock flares its beautiful plumes, the front is very beautiful and the rear is very ugly. If we have to move up the value chain, today we are in a service mindset. And sadly, I would say that, we are on the rear of the peacock or on the slum portion of the globalization. If we have to move up the value chain, we should have thought leadership and we should be uniquely Indian. We should be a strategic partner rather than a low cost service provider. We need to value it. So what should we do? Right? I would say that, this journey becomes very personal here. To me, it is deriving strength from our glorious heritage and culture. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, Russians excavated a place called Arkheim near Ural Mountains, and they excavated something called as the Sintashta culture. Even Vladimir Putin visited that site, and they were very excited because what they found out were fragments of Rigvedic culture. So this puts a death knell on the Aryan invasion theory propounded by the West. The West, in order to legitimize that it can rule India, said, oh, anyway, your rulers were Aryans who came from Central Asia near Caspian Sea, and therefore, anyway, your rulers were foreigners, and we are from England or France or somewhere, Portugal, and why can't we rule? But Arkheim is very surprising because this shows that nobody came from Caspian Sea or Central Asia to India via the Khyber Pass. It is us who went there. And this civilization was very sophisticated. Russians are very happy because so far the West had been telling that the only modern culture is Hellenistic, that is Greco-Roman. But this shows that there was a much superior civilization that originated east of the Eurasian continent. And it's a moment of gratification that everything good is not Greco-Roman. Likewise, if you look at the left, you have the Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy of need. But if you look at Taittiriya Upanishad, I think it is Anandavalli, I think. I think it's Anandavalli in the chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad. You can actually see Panchakosha, and we can spend hours and hours thinking about it, and we can actually tell how nicely it maps the brain, which today, neurologists are understanding. So again, you can see that the ancient Indian thought process had been refined. When I say this, I want to caution that I'm not telling that Indians invented aircraft because Ravana went in Pushpaka Vimanam and all. That's nonsense. Anything that I say as an engineer and as a scientist, I have to provide evidence. If I don't provide evidence, it becomes a hypothesis. So I'm not those kind of a guy who said that Indians could do rockets and the Brahmastra is atom bomb and all that thing. I'm sorry. It may not be. It doesn't matter to me. But such statements are diluting the more important things. And this is a very, very small example of how refined the thought process is. So much so, great scientists like Oppenheimer started reciting Bhagavad Gita when the first atom bomb was exploded. And years before that, Schopenhauer said, Upanishads would be the solace of my birth and the solace of my death. And therefore, it is very paradoxical when some of the Westerners are very keenly following and appreciating the Indian culture. Indians somehow feel very uncomfortable with our own culture, and that's a very sad state of affairs. Why? Because if you look at great minds, for example, Chhatrapati Shivaji had Samartha Ramdas as his guru. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was a fan of Swami Vivekananda. This is a prodigy called Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni, whose guru was Ramana Maharshi. And this man is a prodigy, he's a genius. This is Jagadish Chandra Bose, who said if I built a university, it would be patterned after Takshashila or Nalanda. All the success of the greatest mathematician mankind has ever known, Srinivasa Ramanujan, is attributed to Namagiri Devi. Professor George Sudarshan, who expired recently from Texas A&M, swore by the Upanishads. Again, this man is a man of mighty talent. He didn't win the Nobel Prize for the simple reason that he was an Indian. Otherwise, his students got Nobel Prize. So, if we have to be truly innovative, we have to take all the modernism that the West gives us in terms of science, engineering, technology, computer, and name it. But we should also not surrender ourselves to what you call as Machiavellism, where we lose our soul, because even a few small statements from the Upanishad gel well with modern pursuit for knowledge, except that it makes such a pursuit for knowledge and innovation much more nobler. Because if I give a knife to a good person, he might carve a beautiful figure, whereas if I give it to a bad person, he might kill somebody. There are some statements from Kathopanishad which talks about concentration and mind control, willpower. There is a statement from Svetasvatara Upanishad which talks about the unlimited potential of a human being. There is a phrase from Kathopanishad that talks about, what is a good conduct, how to move with good people. So our move forward towards innovation should be without regrets and should lead to long-term contentment. And to me, in my personal journey, I found that the more and more I understand the past India, the more and more my mathematics, science, and engineering makes sense to me. I want to be as much closer to the science, engineering, and technology that the West offers me. But at the same time, I want to couch it in the beautiful culture and philosophy that my own nation has given me. Because what you see here is a yogi who has gone through the Ashtanga Yoga. He is in Samadhi, probably. He's in a dilapidated state. He is alone in wilderness, and you can see bugs crawling across him. God knows for how many days he has eaten. He might have gone through the 7 stages, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Now, this yogic tradition is extremely holy, and it shows somebody to rise high above daily trifles, as Rabindranath Tagore tells. But if you leave it to Western commercial interest, this will get converted into something as vulgar as what you see here. That is the reason I'm telling my dear friends and listeners that unless we learn to appreciate our tradition and culture on one side, as we go towards future on another side, our innovation will not have soul and spirit to it. Therefore, while we move towards globalization, we have understood that thought leadership is extremely important. And, one second. Innovation is an inextricable part, undeniable part. But at the same time, we should also have a parallel journey of understanding our priceless heritage and culture. So we have to counter the tabloid culture that is being pushed on us all the time, telling where did Virat Kohli and Anushka Sharma go? What dress is Deepika Padukone wearing? The commercial interests are pushing what is useless for us. Whereas in order to empower innovation, I believe that we need to go into inner spiritual journey. But when I say this, I am not confusing spirituality with religion. One can be follow any religion he or she wants. I'm not talking about that. We cannot degenerate spirituality into religion. Spirituality is purely an inner journey, and towards innovation as we travel, I believe that this country has a lot to offer. Therefore, let me end my little lecture to you and by quoting Rig Veda, which says, Ano Badra Kritavo Yanta Vishwataha. Let noble thoughts come to us from every side. And how should the noble thought come to us? Well, this is Rig Veda. I told you it is more than 12,000 years old. We come to some bit of modernity and quote Benjamin Franklin, who said, we must all hang together. That is, come together as a team, or assuredly we shall all hang separately. I would like to thank you very much for this great opportunity. And exactly as I has promised, it is 7:14, so I have 1 more minute. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. After listening to you for an hour, we don't have words to express what we feel. It is just mesmerizing, sir. Thank you very much, sir. The participants, the chat box is open for all of you. You can either type your questions in the chat box or you can unmute yourself. Nandini, can you hear me, Nandini?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
So the participants, you can either unmute yourself and you can ask questions, or you can just post it in the chat box, whichever you find it easy. Somebody wants to ask?
Good evening, sir.
Ranjit Kumar, yes.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, Mr. Rajat Kumar.
Sir, my question is regarding the defense sector, sir. Because since Ashok Leyland is into the defense sector, I would like to know about like you mentioned in your speech that we are a country that is pioneer in sending rockets and satellites to the space. But whereas if we look at the defense sector on the other side, we have opened up our defense sector with 76% FTA, but at the same time we are not going for technology. For example, if we take Rafael deal, we are not going for technology deal, but we are going for a fly-by condition deal, sir. So what impact does it make for the domestic industries? Many MSMEs have come up in defense sector recently because of the Make in India push by the present government. But what impact?
Lost Mr. Ranjit Kumar, but I think but I think I got Mr. Ranjit Kumar's question, so I think I have sufficient, information from him to give a reasonable answer. See, very unfortunately, while you have good institutions such as IIT, IISc, and all, the Indian ecosystem does not offer an opportunity for these people to unleash their talent. There are a lot of complexities, unless the nation truly gives value for merit, and unless meritocracy is fully established, always there will be disgruntled people who feel that, look, if the system is such that it doesn't allow me to move ahead, I am going to move to a country which allows me to move ahead. See, even when I left United States and came back to India, it was not an easy decision. I had to think a lot because I know the Indian system, right? So people are concerned, about the system that India offers, and that concern is very genuine. My own personal experience, I can say that. Therefore, what happens is we are not in a position of creating an ecosystem that fosters innovation, where we can create technology that matches with the best. It's not that we don't have the brain power. It's simply that we don't have the political will. The second, of course, is massive corruption. Massive corruption. Therefore, unless, there are certain value systems and there is a good implementation of law, and there is also an understanding of dharma, I think, it will become very difficult. Okay. And also, even until 1990, the mindset was, have large organizations and you join a job, you retire from there. So there was too much of, what can I say, lax attitude. And even
It looks like sir got disconnected.
Yes, sir, we are not able to hear you, sir. Satyaprasad, sir?
No, he got disconnected, ma'am. He got disconnected from the whole
there.
Zoom.
No, he's there.
He's there.
No,
He's there, ma'am.
yeah.
He's there.
He's there. Probably there's some. Yeah, now I think he'll rejoin. Yeah, he's come back.
Sir got disconnected.
No, he has come back. He has come back. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Good.
there's some network issue.
We lost my connection.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all. So it's a larger issue starting from academia all the way up to government policies and everything. But I'm sure we are learning now as a country, and let's hope in the next 15-20 years things will go for the better. Next question, Varsha. I think Varsha has a question. Let me read out her question. Thank you, sir, for such an informative session with so much of data point and analogy. The question to you is, what do you think is the major challenge for India not being among the top ranking countries in innovation? What do we do to overcome the same without hampering our culture and heritage? The first is, I would say first is equality. Every single individual in the country should be treated equally. Number one, there should be no discrimination of any sorts. Number two is merit should be favored. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, merit. And the third, of course, should be the political will. Okay, we should also celebrate thought leadership. So it is not just, there is no single major challenge. There are lots of major challenges, and unless we ask difficult question and give honest answer, it would become very difficult. We would be living in a denial mode and still talking about turmeric and basmati rice.
Good evening, sir. Vinayak this side. I have a question where, we are living in the era of disruption, as you said, and acceleration also. The quicker someone can develop a product and take it to the market, the more the opportunity. My question is, most companies, traditional and legacy companies, are not structured for speed. So how should these companies approach innovation? And I have a sub question: can the teams work like a startup until it shapes into a regular business?
Okay, first question regarding speed. I think that part is improving actually. See, today, if you look at least the last 10 years, there has been significant recognition and understanding of the trajectory India ought to go. And certainly, I'm seeing a lot more transparency in the way things are happening, both at the government sector as well as the private sector. Let me give you an example. If you go to banks, especially government banks, probably 15 years ago, at 2 o'clock they will all close everything, and you can't. It becomes like an impregnable fortress. Okay, today the same bank people from government bank are calling, and in fact, I was very surprised that they were much better than private banks in many cases. I mean, personal experience. Therefore, the notion of service, we are understanding actually. There is no question at all on that. What was your second question, Mr. Vinayak?
Sir, the question was, can the business teams work like
I got it. You were telling entrepreneurship. See, again, entrepreneurship is also actually picking up, although not at a pace like Silicon Valley or somewhere. If you look at IIT Tech Park, for example, there are so many companies, and I had a chance to meet with several of those people, and I was amazed. But you have to understand, right? There should be a certain level of security when you become an entrepreneur, because unlike working in an organization, being an entrepreneur is very, very stressful, very challenging. So I do agree that if we prepare the future generation for entrepreneurship, which again has a lot of cultural element, the ability to face failure, the ability to
Looks like sir's net connectivity is.
Yes, I think there is.
Yes.
Yeah. Sir, we are not able to hear you, sir. Is at his office. Sir, Satyaprasad, sir. He's there on the screen. Probably not. Yeah, I think he'll come back. Participants, thank you for your patience. I think sir has got some network problem. Yes, yes, come back. Yes, come back. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There's a bit of connection problem. Can somebody
Yes, sir.
repeat the question?
Who asked the question? Vinayak?
Vinayak asked.
Sir, question was, can these legacy and traditional companies work like a startup until they, shape the product into a regular business?
One second. I think there's a problem with my internet. I will just change the internet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The dongle. Yeah, I think the net. Yeah, continue, Mr. Naik.
Vinayak, can you repeat? Sorry, Vinayak.
Yeah. So my question was, most legacy companies are not structured for this speed. So can these companies work like a startup until they shape a product into a regular business?
Yeah. There are a lot of companies that are doing that actually. Most of the companies, including us, we start certain things in a very small way with a very small team and see how it is all coming up. And once we have some hope, then we scale up actually. And in fact, I can even tell a few examples, but it will take some time to do that. But yes, most of the companies do that actually. There is a small entrepreneurial element even in large companies. I think Varsha has a question. I work for a travel-based tech startup company. This COVID-19 pandemic has impacted our travel industry very badly. Do you have any tips or suggestions with respect to innovation that can facilitate the industry to bounce back successfully? Okay. See, this is a good question, but the answer is a very difficult answer because the world is still trying to figure out how to handle it. See, as personally to me, my life was different before March 20, and it's different after March 20. Before March 20, we did not have a concept called work from home. We have to go to the technical center, and we have to stand under a truck and grease our hands. But today, what is happening is we have learned quickly using Microsoft Teams how to collaborate, work, everything. And to a point that working from home has become much more stressful than going to the office and working. So now what is happening is the entire society is going through a bit of a transformation. And what is the end point of this transformation? Nobody in this world is very sure about. But there are certain things we are understanding. I'm not answering your question really directly, but this has given us an opportunity to explore certain IT tools. And take, for example, had it been non-COVID, I would have been invited to SRM campus and I would be delivering this lecture in a hall. But today I'm sitting at home and I'm actually delivering the lecture. It's great because I don't have to travel all the way to Vadapalani and come back. And certain protocols like handing over the bouquets and all that is not necessary. It's not, that's eliminated. We are coming to the point straight away. So it's improving operational efficiency. But at the same time, we lose the personal touch and, the warmth of, interacting with the human being is also lost. Therefore, if we have to reorient ourselves to a situation like COVID, it is so different from industry to industry. And also, we don't know when COVID would end. Suppose somebody finds a vaccine for COVID, then there is a fair chance people can go back to normal situation. Okay. So there is no short answer. It is just, one thing you can do is you can give a travel experience like a virtual reality or something. Let's say somebody wants to visit a museum, Louvre Museum in Paris. You can perhaps have a virtual reality kind of a room that is transported. I'm just talking wildly. In a truck, and the guy gets into it, and he or she gets a virtual environment of walking into the Louvre Museum, looking at all the things, everything. So you can actually give virtual experiences more than real experience. That's something that could be done. Or else, you can look at can we evolve some kind of consensus with the tourism industry across the world as to how travel could still be possible under this situation. Maybe some kind of face mask, sanitizer, some kind of blood test as soon as you get down, something such that the industry is still there, and the industry becomes a premium industry, so that people who can afford travel would travel, but there is zero risk. So you spend more money, but the risk is zero. So we have to come up with different models in order to innovatively think, especially an industry like tourism, where it involves people movement, right? It's a very worst affected industry. Lavanya has asked a question. There is a question in YouTube. What is the scope of mechanical engineers in present day context? I mean, plenty. Mechanical engineers, are very flexible. They can, there's too much of computerization happening. Lot of big data activities, CAD, CAM, Industry 4.0, Internet of Things. I gave some megatrends. Lots of opportunities are there. So nothing to worry at all. One would have to be a good student and do well. Pranav has asked, Mike, what do you think that a company or a person can do to nurture innovation and keep trying to be more innovative? As I often find people becoming more focused on work rather than being. See, again, the culture in organizations are running. For example, our new managing director, Mr. Vipin Sondhi, has been constantly telling, please allow young engineers to experiment. He's been telling, I want more number of patents to be applied from this company. So there's a recognition across industries that we need to create an ecosystem that nurtures innovation. Therefore, I'm sure that probably in the next 3 or 4 years, a significant part of expectation from an engineer would be towards how much of innovation you have created. Are you publishing papers? Are you applying for patents and all that? So that transition is happening because we are realizing technology is becoming very expensive. Lavanya Kasi has a question. When future is uncertain, what sort of transformation is required for the engineers? What is the timely action required for the technology-oriented professional? See, my answer to that is, continuous learning, actually. That is number one. You have to be sufficiently current on what is happening. So first is continuous learning. Second is networking. Now, networking can be either a virtual networking through LinkedIn, some professional network, or it could also be personal network. Like, today I'm having a good fortune of networking with a bunch of very enlightened audience and very enlightened faculty member. So this is an opportunity. So, I get to know about them, they get to know about me. Maybe, if they feel my lecture is worth it, maybe they may call me once more. So that's my small contribution to the society. It's their contribution to the society also. So one has to be current, number one. One has to network, number two. Number three, one has to know the technology adjacencies. For instance, 30 years ago, if you say, I know finite element analysis, or I know C programming, you would get a good job and you can make sufficient money. Today, it's not like that. It is very connected. Therefore, you have to know the other technological areas that are also part of the ecosystem and at least be familiar with it. And last, of course, is personal integrity, ethics, and leadership. There is a difference between being a leader and a manager. A manager gets things done, but the leader can peer into the future. Now, how can you peer into the future? It's not going to an astrologer or something. It is actually essentially sitting and spending time with yourself on what is happening. Looking at various, there are a lot of think tanks like Boston Consultancy Group, McKinsey, a lot of good people. They write reports. reading relevant news, getting an understanding and a feel for where the world is going on, and be part of the journey. So these are 3-4 things that could be done in order to avoid obsolescence in future.
Good evening, sir. This is Surya here.
Yes, sir.
Sir, in your presentation, you have given that India is the least countries in filing their patent rights, sir. So, for comparing China and South Korea, they are the leading ones. So, I have a doubt regarding this, sir. I want you to give a suggestion whether in India the government is restricting our public or people or corporates are not allowing to enter into their markets, or people are not having an adequate knowledge how to file a patent right. So I just want to suggestion from you, sir. So whether which is the correct thing going on?
See, I have been in India for the last 15 and a half years. And I was one of the persons to apply for the earliest patent. At that time, the understanding of patent by the patent attorneys was very primitive. But today, if you look at it, our patenting system is as good as anybody else in the world. I can tell you, the way the attorneys write the patent document, how they make the claims, it is as good as anywhere else in the world. Number one. Number two is you have to understand that patenting is very expensive. We are talking about a few lakhs of rupees to file a patent and maintain it for a few years. Therefore, it is going to eat into substantial chunk. The third is actually there is an increasing understanding of the importance of patents, because in the past we used to buy technologies and replicate. Today we are realizing technology is becoming more and more expensive. Therefore, I would say that in the next probably 5 to 10 years, we can see a quantum jump in number of patents Indians are applying. Okay, there is, in Tamil they say, Thiriya Purtiyachu, Vedi inno vedikala. The wick has been lit. The bomb has to explode. I don't know if it's a good example, but the fire is there, and it's just an evolutionary thing, that's all. See, US has been doing it for almost 100, 150 years. We have only been doing for the last 15, 20 years. So there's a huge difference, right?
Fine. I think we've taken much of Sir's time. This will be the last question that Sir will be taking from Priyanka Damodaran.
Yes.
There are many innovations in the field of agriculture. Why are they not getting recognized as much as other fields? This will be the last question.
I won't say they are not getting recognized or anything. In fact, if you look at people like M.S. Swaminathan, they have been recognized very much. In fact, Thiruvalluvar has himself said, "Uludundu Vazhvane Vazhvan, Mattavarlam Toludundu Pinselvavar." So right from thousands of years till today, there is significant prestige for agriculture. I wouldn't doubt that at all. I would say, many fields in India, except sports and movie industry, is not getting recognized. So agriculture is part of that. Tell me which engineer is getting recognized here, right? We are, every picture you see, it is either Shah Rukh Khan six-pack, Aishwarya Rai or somebody. So we are recognizing only them, but I don't know. Maybe we will slowly come out of this, sports, and even in sports, we only recognize cricket very much, right? We are so worried about Virat Kohli's hairstyle, what to do. I don't have an answer, Priyanka. I'm asking the same question as you. Anyway.
Thank you, sir. Sir, some of the participants have asked in the private chat box, can we share your mail ID or phone number to them so that if they have any questions, probably later, with your permission, if you say yes, I will share your.
You can share my Gmail ID.
Sure, sir.
No problem. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
Great.
So, thank you so much, sir. And we also thank the participants for making the session so very interesting. It was really, indeed, this 1 hour of your speech and half an hour of question answer session was Really nice. It was almost like it was really mesmerizing. And it was listening to Mahatreya TT Rangarajan, the voice when we just hear it over the earphone, it looks like that. Thank you so much. It was very
No problem.
wonderful, sir.
Can I just share a sentence
Yes,
actually?
sir. Yes, sir.
Let me tell to everybody here that, I used to call Professor Gayatri as Manni because I used to call her husband as Anna. Sorry, I'm not embarrassing you, I believe.
Yes,
So
sir.
when Professor Gayatri's husband Ramanan, who is my very very close friend, is like an elder brother to me. He called me and said, there is a request here. Can you deliver a lecture? I said, yeah, no problem. He said, no, no, no. You talk to my wife. She's the faculty member. I am your colleague in Ashok Leyland. I've got nothing to do with SRM. So to me, the moment Mr. Ramanan told, please talk, I didn't even think for a second because, both of them are dear to me in my heart, both Professor Gayatri Madam and as well as Ramanan, her husband. Therefore, I would like to dedicate this little speech at the feet of my really beloved friend who is like a brother to me, Mr. Ramanan. Okay, I just want to tell that.
Thank you, sir.
I
Thank you so
dedicate
much.
this lecture to him.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, before you close up, just one little query, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, this is Dr. Prasida, sir. You were just telling us something about some excavations conducted by Russians where they found out the Vedic
Okay.
remains.
Yes,
Where
yes, yes,
is
yes,
that,
yes.
sir? Which part?
Oh, it's
I couldn't get
available all over internet. Archive.
Unless AR.
ARKHAM. I will just type in the chat box.
Oh,
Type in the chat box. My spelling may
ARKHAM.
be a little wrong. My spelling may be
okay,
a
okay,
little
okay.
wrong. But you can
I
check
got
for
it, sir.
yourself. Okay,
I
you
got
can
it,
check
sir.
it
I
for
got it.
yourself.
Thank you. I
So
actually was
our
trying to type
message
when you
to
were
be
speaking, but I could not get.
okay.
Thank you,
We
sir.
have to be proud of our country. That's the message I wanted to give in that slide. Okay. Anyway, my presentation is available. I will email it to Gayatri Madam so that
Sure.
those who are interested, she can share.
We will share it, sir. People have been asking actually. We will share it to them, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Gratitude makes sense of your past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. To express our sincere gratitude for the successful conduct of Acharya, I invite Dr. R. Nandini, Faculty, Department of Management Studies, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Gayatri ma'am. Thank you so much. Gratitude is the most exquisite form of courtesy. I, on behalf of Department of Management Studies, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, take immense pleasure in thanking our speaker for the day, Dr. Satyaprasad Mangala Ramanan, Vice President, Product Development, Ashok Leyland Limited, Chennai, for accepting our invitation and giving a grand eye-opening session on innovation. A humble person with a wide and immense knowledge. நிறை குடம் தழும்பாது அதற்கு நீங்க ஒரு உதாரணம் சார். Thank you so
Gali,
much.
Gali kodam. Onnume illa
No
thalumburadhukku.
sir, no sir. We have been listening to you for the past 1.5 hours without even moving our eye from the screen. Amazing. Wow, what an innovative journey. And a session which started with a target of time and content perfectly aimed and achieved perfectly. Thank you so much, sir. You have made it very clear to us that innovation is just around us. It is we who need to change our eye lens to see them clearly and adapt to it. Sir, despite of your busy schedule, you have triggered our mind towards innovation. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to thank our Dean, Dr. K. Durevelu, for his consistent support and motivation. Thank you so much, sir. I also would like to thank our HOD, Dr. Keshavan, sir, for always being a support pillar towards any activity that we do. Thank you so much, sir. I also would like to thank all the participants for your overwhelming response towards registering for this session. We had more than 50 plus registrations made for today's session. Thank you so much. It is because of your overwhelming response that we have made today's session a grand success, and hoping for the same kind of support for the future sessions as well. Thank you so much. I also would like to extend our gratitude to Dr. Arun Nehru sir for helping us in hosting the YouTube channel live. Thank you, sir. Thanks to our students, our budding innovative managers, Shibu, Tim, and Lavanya, for assisting us continuously from the inception of this event. Thanks to the ITKM team for the seamless Zoom connectivity for hosting this session. Once again, I, on behalf of Department of Management Studies SRM, extend our gratitude to all who have made today's session on this digital platform a grand success. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Can I sign off with your permission?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have some instructions for the participants. You can please leave. Thank you so much, sir.
And
Thank you.
special thanks to Gayatri madam for interesting
sir.
me with this. It's an honor. Thank you, madam.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Participants, thank you so much for being with us for this almost 2 hours. The feedback link is already there in the chat box. It will be open till 8:30. You can fill it up. Shibu, have you put the feedback link in the YouTube?
Ma'am, we are trying to put it, but it is not happening.
Okay, fine. Anyway, you can just copy, paste it. Don't put it in the WhatsApp group. We have another session on the 29th of August, Creative and Critical Thinking, a Recipe for Innovation by Mr. Balaji Jairaj. He's the founder of BJ360. He's a personal and a professional trainer, and we will be sharing the details with you. So thank you, participants. Thank you, all of you, for staying with us right from 6 o'clock till 7:45. Thank you very much. And we thank all our alumni for being with us for whatever, any endeavor that we do. We also thank the others who have registered. Thank you very much. So the feedback link will be open till 8:30, and you will be receiving your certificates maximum by Monday. We are trying to send it by tonight. If not, maximum by Monday, we'll be sending it across to you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pranav, for joining.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you, all of you, all the participants. Thank you, Varsha, for asking too many questions. Thank you, Vinayak, and thank you, Surya, sir, and the other participants also. It was nice. It was very nice nice to see you all back after so long. The participants, you can leave. We'll be anyway there for some time, because if we close, you cannot take the feedback link. Thank you, participants. If it is over, you can just leave. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kanmani, Jaravin, Akshaya, Sindhuja, Joshua, Sriram Aravind, Ashok Ramprasad, Vetrivelan, Ananda Prasad, Surya. Tim, have you taken a photograph, Tim? Tim, are you there? Nandini, have you taken the photograph?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes, okay. Please send it to me. Kritika madam, are you there? Anyway, she will write the report and send it to me. Sir, we will be there for just 5 minutes so that they can take the feedback link. Otherwise, if we close, they will not be able to take the feedback link.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Ma'am, ask someone to post in YouTube, ma'am. People are asking.
YouTube. Mohan Sundari, can you post the feedback link in YouTube?
Ma'am, Arun Nehru sir alone can do, ma'am. He is outside. He will come and he will do it in some time now.
You can send to the mail, madam. Registered participants mail.
We'll send it. Okay. Okay, sir.
Illa, ma'am, Arun Nehru sir will post it in some time.
Okay, fine.
Ready? He will do it in some time.
No, some of them they left. They may or may not see.
Gayatri ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. That he was an excellent resource person. Really excellent session. Was there all through. You had a real grip. Good brainwave. The moment we said MDP, really excellent person.
You only suggested, actually, I didn't know.
For many words, we have to refer the dictionary, I think. He mentioned so many bombastic words, I think, isn't it?
Good, sir. Actually, his mindset, and I think our generation mindset exactly matches in terms of globalization, in terms of developments, technology. So he's totally, I was in tune with him totally.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I talk like this in my classes.
He has taken us to the technology-driven world.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But with firm roots in the the basic systems, culture,
Yes.
etc.
Both.
It was an excellent session.
Till you asked, I knew him for so many years, but it never struck. The moment you asked me, I thought, okay, fine. I just asked my husband to call, and he immediately said, and
Yeah.
I never knew.
Within 10 minutes, you confirmed, I think.
Yeah, that's
Within
it.
10 minutes. Yeah.
It didn't stuck. Otherwise, I would have called him even to the college. Somehow, due to various reasons, when you just asked me, that was the moment. I think somebody's audio. But anyway, it's all good start. So Balaji Jairaj is also a very good speaker. So on 29th August, we will have Harita Balaji, thank you. Rashmi, thank you so much. And who else? I forgot. I think most of them I thanked. Kritika madam.
Kritika is there.
Yeah, she's there. Probably she's got some problem in unmuting. Sometimes we are not able to unmute.
Ma'am, Arun Nehru sir will put in another 5 minutes, ma'am.
Okay.
He's outside. He will come.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for this opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Kamesh Pandey. Varsha, thank you so much. Varsha, Niranjani Ruba, such a great session. Thank you, Niranjani Ruba, madam. You were the person who initiated all this. Thank you. Your guide, madam, referred only your name when she spoke to me. Surya, thank you very much, sir, for spending your valuable time for us.
Ma'am, for your kind information, Surya is our prospect student, ma'am.
First year.
Prospect student. Seri. Thank you then. Sriram Aravind, thank you. Jai Shri Rajan, ma'am, thank you so much.
I was actually thinking about the solution he gave for the tourism, I've always wanted to see Louvre, the biggest museum of France. And I was thinking, really, if someone can give me that experience of sitting virtually and where I can see it as if it is real, that would be really great.
Design. And 360 view.
It was really
nice.
Great session, ma'am.
I think anyway, we had a good start.
Ma'am,
we had a good start.
If he is a regular faculty to our department, definitely we will have a tough competition.
Competition வேண்டாம்மா, I'll go and sit in his class. Competition வேண்டாங்க. I'll just go and sit in his class.
They will ask also to prepare such PPTs wherein 2 hours of preparation will become 4 hours of preparation.
I was thinking because for everything I'll go off to history first. And Pinnadi, I'll go off to Indus Valley civilization, Vedic civilization. And I was thinking,
literally, ma'am.
The way he related everything to our culture, wow.
We couldn't move our eyes from his PPTs.
Yeah.
Chanceless. His PPT has much more to talk rather
than... Send it across to me. I will...
yeah, ma'am, sure.
Please share it, ma'am.
நான் எடுத்துட்டேன், நான் ஸ்கிரீன்ஷாட்ஸ் எடுத்துட்டேன். wherever I wanted I can screenshot.
Anyway, he will share.
அப்புறம் வருமோ வரமாட்டோ தெரியாது.
He'll send it. Lavanya and Shibu, I'll send it so that you can send it to the participants also.
Okay, ma'am. Will you send today or Monday, ma'am?
உனக்கு எப்போ முடியுமோ அனுப்பு. உனக்கு எப்போ எவ்வளவு டைம் வேணும்?
சர்டிபிகேட்டோட சேர்த்து அனுப்பலாமா இல்லாட்டி அது தனியா அனுப்பலாமான்னு
கேட்டேன். சர்டிபிகேட் அனுப்பிடுமா. சர்டிபிகேட்ல டிலே பண்ண வேண்டாம். You send the certificate. PPT அவர் அனுப்பிட்டார்னா I'll immediately forward it to you. I think he was still in the office. That is why he had to. They had to close the office. People were just looking at him. அதனால தான் அவர் க்ளோஸ் பண்ணிட்டாரு. He had a meeting. He rescheduled from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. He had to travel from Vellivel Chavadi to Kolattur. He stays in Kolattur. அதனால தான் he suddenly went off. I think he will send it to me. I will definitely share it.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. இல்ல நம்ம it's all saying. சரி, இப்போ நம்ம க்ளோஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாமா? எல்லாரும் எடுத்துப்பாங்களா? டைம் ஆயிடுச்சு, 8 ஆயிடுச்சு.
Yes, ma'am.
நானும் கொடுத்துட்டேன். I gave feedback pa. நானும் கொடுத்துட்டேன். Okay. Then fine. Sorry. Okay then. Bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Thank you, sir.
Good night. Sir, good night. Everyone, good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Lavanya, Shibu, Kim. Thank you so much. Thank you.
They are the left, right, center hands for the Without them, it's impossible, seriously. Anytime we call, they would be ready.
That is what. Anyway, we have much more to come.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Ma'am, is there any way we can bring voice into the video, ma'am? I mean,
it was nice when they played before. Voice on the
when the bandwidth is increasing, he could not play that. We tried.
Mockல வந்து only 4 of us were there. அப்ப வந்து நல்ல voice வந்தது. அதுக்கு அப்புறமா வர மாட்டேங்குது voice. When many people join, no. But last time it came இல்லமா 2-3 வீடியோ வந்ததேமா. When Prabhadevi put for this இது பிரயாஸ்ல
நீங்க தான பண்ணீங்க வாய்ஸ் ஓவர் நீங்க தான கொடுத்தீங்க
இல்லம்மா செகண்ட் டே தேர்ட் டே
மட்டும் தான் மேம் வாய்ஸ் ஓவர் செகண்ட் டே தேர்ட் டேல மியூசிக் வந்தது
எல்லாம் அதுவே வந்தது
ஓகே அது நான் பார்த்தேன் I didn't check that out. Let us try whether we can do something about it because அந்த ரொம்ப நல்லா இருக்கும் அந்த மியூசிக்கே ரொம்ப நல்லா இருக்கும்
அதுதான் I think Rashmi is our student. Rashmi B section class லப்பா.
Yes.
B section.
Yes ma'am.
Okay. Thank you Rashmi.
நம்ம current students join பண்ணாங்க ma'am.
அதுதான்.
Few students.
Very few, selective மட்டும்.
Ma'am, start we had 50 plus.
ஆமா 50 exactly 50 இருந்தது. லேட் ஆயிடுச்சு.
But ma'am, chanceless ma'am, இதுக்கு அப்புறம் we have to build this.
Balaji Jairaj is also good. Balaji Jairaj is very young. In fact, he says he will prepare a video and he will send it to us. He wants us to only give the promotion.
Ma'am, இவரோடது ஒரு ஸ்டாண்டலோன் மாதிரி ஆயிடுச்சு மேம் ஒரு ஸ்டாண்டர்டைசேஷன் மாதிரி ஆயிடுச்சு பெஞ்ச்மார்க்
இப்போ வந்து அடுத்து இவர் இப்ப ஐபிஆர் பேட்டன்ஸ் பத்தி சொன்னாரு சோ நம்ம ஐபிஆர் கூப்பிட்டு இதே இனோவேஷன் பத்தி பேச சொல்லி
பேசலாம் சொல்லலாம்
that is what I know. Another person attending is a very good speaker from the IPR firm. So அவரையும் கூப்பிட்டா it will be a complete session.
Another thing ma'am, நம்ம at least ஒரு 20 to 25 days gap கொடுப்போம் ma'am. Immediate பிரச்சனை MDP participants is quite tough.
இப்போ 15 days கொடுத்துட்டோம்ல
அதுதான்
இதோட 29th தான் அதுக்கப்புறம் செப்டம்பர் 15th மேல வச்சுக்கலாம் செப்டம்பர்
மிட் மேம்
காயத்ரி மேம் இதுக்கு நம்ம இப்போ இந்த 3 செஷன்ஸ் சேர்த்து ஒரு நீட்டா ஒரு ரிப்போர்ட் கிரியேட் பண்ணி we have to submit it to dean sir to show that we have conducted a series. இது சிங்கிள் டே கிடையாது ஒரு 3 days அந்த மாதிரி.
அதனால தேர்டும் வந்து இனோவேஷன் தான் எல்லாமே இனோவேஷன்
தான் அதுதான்
first innovation second வந்து creative and critical thinking recipe for innovation so third one also we will ask the speaker to talk innovations in IPR அந்த மாதிரி ஏதாவது so that
perfect
அப்பதான் he will say okay
that is my concern.
இப்போ கிருத்திகா மேம் எனக்கு இது அனுப்பிச்சிருவாங்க ரிப்போர்ட் அனுப்பிச்சோம்னா I forward it to ஜெயபிரபா
நான் போட்டோஸ் எல்லாம் அனுப்பிடுறேன் மேம்
அம்மா 1-2 நல்ல எல்லாம் இருக்கிற மாதிரி 1-2 போட்டோ மட்டும் கூட போதும்
நம்ம எல்லாரும் when we were on the video அந்த டைம்ல போட்டோ எடுத்தா எக்ஸாக்ட்லி
அது எடுத்துக்கேன் மேம்
Facebookல ஒரு 5-6 போட்டோஸ் கூட போடலாம் மேம்
போடலாமா சரி ஓகே
5-6 கூட போடலாம்
சரி போடுறேன் ஓகே சரியா ஓகே thank you then bye
okay then bye
thank you
care all of you bye
ma'am Asida mama will call you no bye
okay
bye